Have you ever felt like your relationship was missing something? Even when everything seemed perfect on the surface. You love your partner. They love you. But there's this tiny, nagging feeling that you can't quite put your finger on. Well, that was exactly where Sarah and Tom found themselves. They were the couple everyone admired, high school sweethearts. Married for 5 years, with a beautiful home and a golden retriever named Buddy. From the outside, their life was a fairy tale. But behind closed doors, a quiet distance had started to grow between them. Their evenings had fallen into a predictable routine. Dinner, a bit of TV, and then scrolling on their phones in bed before turning out the lights. The spontaneous laughter and deep conversations that once defined their relationship had faded into comfortable silence.
Sarah missed the Tom who would surprise her with a spontaneous weekend trip, the one who would pull her into a slow dance in the kitchen for no reason at all.
Tom missed the Sarah who would light up when he talked about his passions. The one who challenged him and made him feel like the most interesting man in the world. They were together, but they weren't truly connecting. One evening, while cleaning out the attic, Sarah stumbled upon an old, dusty box. Inside was a collection of their old love letters from when they first started dating. As she read through them, tears welled up in her eyes. The letters were filled with passion, dreams, and a vulnerability they hadn't shared in years. Tom wrote about his secret desire to learn woodworking, and Sarah wrote about her dream of opening a small bakery. These were dreams they had completely forgotten, buried under the weight of adult responsibilities and daily routines. That night, she showed Tom the letters. He was quiet at first, reading the words he'd written as a teenager, full of hope. A flicker of the old Tom returned to his eyes. That discovery became their turning point. They decided to do something radical. They created a desire jar. It was a simple mason jar where they could anonymously write down things they wanted to do, feel, or experience, both for themselves and as a couple. It could be anything from I want to have a picnic under the stars to I want to feel truly heard when I talk about my day. The only rule was no judgment. Each week, they would pull one slip of paper from the jar and commit to making it happen. The first note they pulled was written in Tom's handwriting. I want to build a bookshelf from scratch. Sarah had almost forgotten his woodworking dream. That weekend, instead of their usual errands, they went to the hardware store. Sarah watched, fascinated, as Tom's face lit up while he chose the wooden tools. He was so focused, so passionate. It was a side of him she hadn't seen in forever. As they worked on the bookshelf together in the garage, sawdust flying everywhere, they started talking. Really talking. Tom confessed he'd been feeling uninspired at his office. Jobim had been afraid to admit he wanted to do something more creative with his hands. Sarah, in turn, shared her own feelings of being stuck in a rut. The next slip they pulled from the jar was Sarah Est. I want to bake a ridiculously complicated cake just for fun. So, the following weekend, their kitchen was a mess of flour, sugar, and chocolate. They laughed as they made mistakes, celebrated their small victories, and ended up with a lopsided but delicious cake. They were rediscovering not just their old passions, but the joy of supporting each other's passions. The desire jar wasn't just about big dreams. It was about the small, intimate moments too. One note said, I want to hold hands on a walk with no phones. Another said, I want to recreate our first date. Each slip of paper was a bridge back to each other. They went mini-golfing and were terrible at it, just like the first time. They had a tech-free evening where they just sat by the fire and talked for hours. They were slowly, intentionally, rebuilding their connection, piece by piece. They realized their love hadn't faded. It had just been buried under the mundane. They had stopped actively choosing each other, assuming their love would just sustain itself. The hidden desires they uncovered weren't scandalous secrets. They were the simple, human longings for connection, for purpose, and for play. Tom's desire to build something wasn't about escaping his life with Sarah. It was about feeling fulfilled, which in turn made him a happier, more engaged partner. Sarah's desire to bake wasn't just about cake. It was about reclaiming a piece of her creative identity. By sharing these parts of themselves, they became whole again, both as individuals and as a couple. They learned that a healthy relationship isn't about two people becoming one, but but about two whole individuals choosing to walk the same path, supporting each other's growth along the way. One of the most powerful notes they pulled was simple. I want to know what you're afraid of. That night, they stayed up late, sharing their deepest insecurities and fears. Tom was afraid of failing, of not being enough for Sarah. Sarah was afraid of them drifting so far apart that they'd become strangers. In that moment of pure vulnerability, they found a new level of intimacy. It was scary, but it was real. They weren't just the perfect couple anymore. They were two imperfect people, navigating life's challenges together, armed with honesty and a renewed commitment to each other. Their story isn't a fairy tale. It's a testament to the fact that love is a choice you make every single day. It's an active verb. It requires effort, communication, and a willingness to be vulnerable. It's about remembering to ask, what do you desire? And then truly listening to the answer.
The bookshelf Tom built now stands proudly in their living room.
Filled with books, photos, and their desire jar. A constant reminder of their journey back to each other. Their love story didn't have a dramatic twist in the traditional sense. The twist was realizing that the secret to a lasting, passionate love wasn't some grand gesture, but the quiet, consistent act of rediscovering each other over and over again. So, what about you? What's in your desire jar? Maybe it's time to find out. It could be the most beautiful adventure you and your partner ever take. Don't wait for a special occasion to start connecting. Start tonight. Ask a question you haven't asked in a while. Share a dream you've kept to yourself. You might be surprised at the magic you uncover. Thanks so much for watching and sharing this time with me. If this story resonated with you, give this video a like and consider subscribing for more stories about connection and growth. See you in the next one!